Prologue. At the beginning of beginnings, there was only infinity, which was darkness multiplied by nothingness. The darkness was eternal and unchallenged until infinity divided nothingness by zero. A sound not unlike a faint bass trumpet note pierced the void, and light issued forth. Darkness could not subdue the light. Whatever was not darkness was light. The future had a future. Within the light were particles that contained excitable atoms held together in an electron cloud. Some of the particles providentially embraced, improving themselves to become matter. The matter improved to become all the things we see and know. From the light, and then the matter, each thing created itself through an irresistible force, an urge. All this taken together is what we call God. All of it is God. Everything that exists can be seen as part of what we call God. The God who was God before the light and the particles, and then after. God did not ask for this job because the only thing to ask was himself. In this way, all things came to be. As unknowable billions of years passed, every part of existence, whether an atom, quark, an amoebic protofish, or a galaxy, had experiences, learned, and changed to better itself. Stars created themselves in uncountable numbers. Some exploded and sent their particles scattering through what had become a universe. Those particles became all that exists, including us. Each of us is part of a star and part of God. One distant day, it will all cease to be. The light will collapse into the darkness. All that has ever been will be no more. As the creation urge continued, some 60 million years ago, beings we now call primates began to walk on what we now call Earth. They had experiences. They changed to their own betterment. And down through the unfathomable tunnel of time that separates then from now, the primates taught themselves to come down from the trees, stand upright, and outwit the competition. A simian self-consciousness ignited and began to evolve. Hominids ruled. Homo erectus prospered for 2 million years and then died out, unable to improve itself sufficiently. Homo sapiens survived by eating meat protein to grow a larger brain and take control of the magic of fire. 75,000 years ago, in what is now called Indonesia, a supervolcano erupted in a magnitude unknown to historic times. Everything changed. Lights dimmed, plants struggled, species died. Homo sapiens came close to extinction. Modern humanity might never have existed, but about 2,000 of the biggest brained sapiens survived. These individual Africans were the direct ancestors to modern man. 60,000 years ago, they actuated a storm of behavioral change. They developed the ability to visualize things that weren't in front of them and make pictures of those things on cave walls. They began to communicate with each other by a system of primitive sounds. They began to bury their dead and be curious about the night sky. The great ice retreated. Animals migrated into the newly fertile hills and valleys. Our ancestors followed them. Some Homo sapiens were relatively advanced when they sashayed out of Africa into Europe and across southern Asia. Some weren't so advanced, but followed along. They walked together, female and male, advanced or not, across the Bering Land Bridge 15 or 20,000 years ago, learning that in groups they could hunt down the dim-witted mammoth to provide rich, fat-laced meat and the beginning of good humor around a fire. These early hunters spilled into North America, which was a game park of bison, horses, camels, giant ground sloths, saber-toothed cats, bears, and many other creatures that didn't know what to make of the invaders. The humans eventually established native groups from Alaska to the Amazon, wherever there were animals to kill and roast and eat. Consciousness advanced. Many of these early humans experienced a geometric increase in mental activity, including a rudimentary inner life. Some became reflective. They were wetting their feet in the river of idea and thought that, far downstream, would produce Mozart's music, computer code, nuclear warfare, and Gilligan's Island. Not all things were consistent, however. Imperfections occurred. Now and then a gene was not turned on, a chromosome was bent, a synapse did not fire. Thus, a large but defective member of a small group stole meat from the others. He established a maverick cult that didn't follow the rules that had been developed through eons. Some 14,000 years ago, on a windswept ocean's rim near what would come to be known as Vancouver, stood two groups of hominids. One was a group of 12. The other numbered nearly 300. A large male stood at the front of the bigger group and faced the other dozen. He made a series of head shakes and throaty, one-syllable sounds, followed by the sucking of air through clenched teeth. He pointed a thick finger toward the deep and ancient forest beyond. The smaller group was cast out, its witless members cursed to fend for themselves. They would live or die on their own. Remarkably, the cast-outs did indeed survive, but they evolved and improved very little compared to their brethren, though they did become physically large and astonishingly secretive, and they continued reproducing into our own time. Certain of the Pacific Northwest native tribes, themselves begat from the larger group on that prehistoric shore, came to call them Sasquatch.